Hey everyone! This video is inspired by a popular romantic comedy show about second chances. When two childhood sweethearts reunite after 8 years, they find themselves falling in love all over again. Okay, let's do this. It had been 3 years since Officer Elena Cruz last saw her. 3 years since that rainy night on the edge of the city when a routine patrol had brought her face to face with Sophia Morales, a woman with a defiant gaze and a mystery wrapped around her like a cloak. Elena had been new to the force back then, still bright-eyed, eager to follow the rules. Sophia had been leaning against a graffiti-covered wall, cigarette in hand, when Elena stopped to ask questions about a nearby disturbance. Sophia's answers were quick, sharp, and tinged with a smile that felt more dangerous than anything Elena had been trained for. They met again by accident 2 weeks later at a community fundraiser. Sophia was in a deep green dress, her hair loose and shining under the warm lights. She wasn't the kind of person who blended in, she was the kind who drew the air out of the room and made you notice her. Elena remembered feeling her professional guard crumble as they exchanged slow smiles across the crowd. One coffee turned into several. Conversations stretched long into the night, sometimes ending in quiet laughter, other times in debates that left them both restless. Elena didn't know what to make of the strange pull between them. Sophia never spoke much about her past, and Elena never pushed. There was an unspoken understanding. Whatever their connection was, it existed in its own fragile world. Then, just as quickly, Sophia was gone. No calls, no messages. Elena searched for her in the usual places, but the city is good at hiding people who want to disappear. Months became years, and the only thing left was the memory of how Sophia's voice dipped when she was telling a secret, or how her touch felt warm and fleeting, like sunlight through clouds. Elena told herself she had moved on. She dated others, threw herself into her work, built the kind of life that left little time for nostalgia. But every so often, in the quiet between shifts, she caught herself wondering where Sophia was and whether she still thought about her. It was a late autumn evening when fate decided to play its hand. Elena was off duty, walking home through the bustling streets, when she heard a familiar laugh. She turned and there she was, Sophia. The world seemed to slow. Sophia looked different, her hair shorter, her style more understated, but the eyes were the same, holding that same unreadable depth. Elena found herself smiling, a genuine smile that reached up to her eyes. Sophia, she said, her voice betraying none of the turmoil she felt inside. Sophia turned, their eyes met, and for a moment, the noise of the city faded away. Recognition dawned on Sophia's face, quickly followed by a hesitant smile. Elena, she echoed, her voice a melody that Elena had almost forgotten. A kaleidoscope of emotions flickered across Sophia's features: surprise, disbelief, and something akin to wonder. I didn't know you were here, Sophia stammered, her gaze dropping to her hands for a brief moment before meeting Elena's again. Elena shook her head, chuckling softly at the sight of Sophia's suddenly flushed cheeks. Me neither, she admitted. I wasn't expecting to bump into you here of all places. The surprise of their unexpected reunion hung in the air between them, punctuated by the distant hum of the city. Elena took a deep breath, feeling a surge of emotions she hadn't anticipated. Fancy meeting you here, she managed, trying to keep her voice steady despite the flurry of thoughts racing through her mind. They found a quiet corner cafe, and the conversation started tentatively. The initial awkwardness soon melted away, replaced by easy banter and shared laughter. As the evening deepened, the conversation flowed effortlessly between them, touching upon their lives, their dreams, and the years that had passed since they last saw each other. Sophia explained she'd left the city to take care of family, that life had been complicated in ways she wasn't ready to share back then. Elena listened, torn between relief and the ache of lost time. With each passing moment, the cafe seemed to shrink around them, becoming a sanctuary where only their shared history and the faint clinking of cups broke the silence. Elena watched as the candlelight danced in Sophia's eyes, painting them with a soft, ethereal glow. It was as if those years had etched stories onto her face, stories that begged to be heard. But the silence wasn't uncomfortable. It was filled with a comfortable familiarity that transcended words. It was the kind of silence that spoke volumes without sound. The cafe, with its worn wooden tables and the soft murmur of other patrons, became their stage. Their eyes locked, and in that moment, the outside world ceased to exist. All that mattered was the connection that had endured the test of time. As the night deepened, Elena felt a surge of emotions threatening to spill over. The city lights twinkled outside the window, mirroring the sparkle in Sophia's eyes. It was a potent reminder that the passage of time, while relentless, had only served to deepen the enigma that was Sophia Morales. Elena leaned forward, her gaze intent as she asked, "What brings you back?" Her voice was a mere whisper, yet it held the weight of unspoken questions that had echoed in her thoughts for years. The question hung in the air between them, pregnant with meaning. What had drawn Sophia back to this city, back to her, after all this time? Sophia stirred, as if a switch had been flipped. A hint of melancholy crossed her features as she began her response. "I needed to come back," she said, her voice husky with emotion. "There are some things here that I needed to see for myself, some loose ends I had to tie." She paused, her gaze drifting to the distant window, as if seeking refuge in the twinkling city lights. "And maybe," she added softly, turning back to Elena, "I needed to come back to you." Elena's heart skipped a beat. Was that a confession? An apology? Or perhaps a gentle admission of the feelings that had once bound them together? The answer, she sensed, lay in the depths of Sophia's eyes, in the unspoken emotions that flickered there. As the evening wore on, the cafe became their haven from the bustling world outside. In the comforting glow of the setting sun, they delved deeper into each other's lives, uncovering the chapters that had been missing from their shared narrative. Elena learned of Sophia's journey, her triumphs and struggles, and the reasons that had driven her away all those years ago. With each shared story, the bond between them grew, weaving a tapestry of understanding and empathy. For Elena, it was a revelation. Sophia, once an enigma wrapped in mystery, was now revealing her layers like an intricate puzzle. And Elena, with bated breath, was piecing it all together. As the cafe began to empty and the twilight hours descended, Elena found herself holding on to every word Sophia uttered. She marveled at the strength and resilience Sophia had shown, the way she had navigated the complexities of life with grace and determination. Yet there was an underlying sadness in Sophia's voice when she spoke of her reasons for leaving. And Elena's heart ached at the realization that their paths had diverged so many years ago. It was during one of these quiet moments, as they reminisced about shared memories, that Elena noticed a faint blush creeping up Sophia's neck. It was a subtle change easily missed, yet Elena, attuned to the nuances of expression, caught it instantly. Sophia's fingers tightened slightly around her cup, and her eyes, usually so expressive, seemed to drop slightly, as if in contemplation. This subtle shift in demeanor hinted at a vulnerability beneath Sophia's composed exterior. Recognizing this, Elena took a step back, both physically and emotionally, creating a safe space for Sophia to open up. Her tone was gentle as she offered, "I won't push you to talk if you're not ready. But please know that I'm here to listen whenever you're ready." The unspoken understanding that had always existed between them seemed to strengthen in that moment, solidifying the bond that time had only reinforced. When Sophia finally spoke, her voice was barely a whisper, revealing a vulnerability that tugged at Elena's heartstrings. "I left because I was afraid," she confessed, her gaze dropping to her hands. "Afraid of what?" Elena prompted softly, reaching out to gently touch Sophia's hand. Her fingers lingered for a moment, a silent gesture of support and understanding. "Afraid of losing you," Sophia whispered, her voice cracking slightly. "I thought that if I disappeared, if you couldn't find me, then the pain of losing me wouldn't be so great." Elena felt a wave of emotion wash over her, a mixture of sadness and longing. She understood Sophia's fear, the terror of loving someone so deeply that the thought of losing them becomes unbearable. In that dimly lit cafe, surrounded by the ghosts of their shared past, they peeled back the layers of their emotions, revealing the raw truths that had been buried for so long. It was a cathartic release, a shared vulnerability that forged an even deeper connection between them.